Well, I looked up the origin of Mother's Day. You guys may know some of this, but there was originally in the U.S., there's different Mother's Days all over the world, but in the U.S., there is a woman named Julia Ward Howe, actually in Boston area, Massachusetts, 1970s, 72, different things are happening around there, but she actually wrote the words for the Battle Hymn in the Republic. But around that time, she was organizing a Mother's Day meeting to promote peace. And then later in 1907, there's a woman named Anna Jarvis from Philadelphia. She began a campaign to establish a national Mother's Day. And eventually that caught on. They kind of campaigned for that. Different areas got it to spread. And eventually it was on the second Sunday of May. So it hasn't been it hasn't been hundreds of years that we've been celebrating Mother's Day. It's really just a little over 100 years. And people do it different places all over the world, different times. But there's a number of countries that celebrate it on the same day, the second Sunday in May, like we do in the U.S. And so, anyway, that's a little bit about that. There's different people. All right, so I'm going to start off with this. This is a joke, okay? So these sayings are supposed to be funny, and I don't know. We're in 2025 now. I think those of us that have been around will get some of these, but they're jokes, all right? So people are sometimes really sensitive. I know you guys are okay, but I mean the younger generation. Well, you shouldn't do that, or that's not a healthy family. Okay, well, it's a joke. So. I feel like I have to say that. So says, these are about 10 of these things. There was a number of them, but I shortened it down. It says, my mother taught me, ... My mother taught me to appreciate a job well done. And then it has a quote by her. If you're going to kill each other, do it outside. I just finished cleaning. My mother taught me about time travel. If you don't straighten up, I'm going to knock you into the middle of next week. My mother taught me logic, because I said so, that's why. My mother taught me more logic. If you fall out of that swing and break your neck, you're not going to go to the store with me. My mother taught me foresight. Make sure you wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident. My mother taught me irony. You keep crying and I'm going to give you something to cry about. My mother taught me about the science of osmosis. Shut your mouth and eat your supper. My mother taught me about stamina. You're going to sit there until all that spinach is gone. Now, for me, there was a certain type of stew, and my parents heard this. They know exactly they don't even have to hear me mention stew. Like my dad will mention it. Hey, we had some good beef stew. I'm not against all beef stews. There's just something the way it was made. I could not get it down. There was a certain goulash, and then, man, if we ever had liver and onions, which we did rarely, but we did. Handful of times, that's, for me, some people, my dad loves it. Good for you. I'm an adult. I don't ever want to taste that again. But anyway, stew, stuff like that. This was literally, I would sit there with the kitchen light on, and it would be 10:30 at night, and I'm still sitting there, and it's cold. I just remember that taste of it when it's cold. Just got worse. I would try to, as much as I could. Man, when we'd have stew, my parents knew it's gonna be a long night. I try to push it against other pieces of food, but anyway. Spinach, I didn't have a lot of spinach. Spinach is supposed to be bad, but. All right, my mother taught me the circle of life. I brought you into this world and I can take you out. And my mother taught me about anticipation. Just wait until we get home. Anyway, like I said, it's supposed to be a joke. Funny. Maybe, I think most of us know. Been around for a while. So, all right, some quotes. These are not jokes. So some quotes. From famous people about mothers. I remember my mother's prayers This is Abraham Lincoln. I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. George Washington said, my mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. All I am, I owe to my mother. I attribute all my success in life to the moral, intellectual, and physical education I received from her. John S.C. Abbott said, mothers have as powerful an influence over the welfare of future generations as all other earthly causes combined. Andrew Jackson said, there never was a woman like her. She was gentle as a dove and brave as a lioness. The memory of my mother and her teachings were, after all, the only capital I had to start life with. And on that capital, I have made my way. Spanish proverb, it's the last one. A Spanish proverb says, an ounce of mother is worth a ton of priest. Let's look at 1 John 4, verse 7. It is a special day, celebrate mothers, and I had something specifically on my heart concerning this morning. And verse 7 says, beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Is this the love of God, or in this the love of God was manifested toward us, that God has sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son. God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. Verse 12, no one has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love has been perfected in us. Verse 12, no one has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love has been perfected in us. So, when you think of mothers, now, I know not every mom's the same. Not every mother's the same. This isn't like, universal standard. People have different experiences and so forth. But, in general, attributes that would be associated with moms, versus dads. Not that dads can't be this way too. But things like tender, patient, sensitive, merciful, supportive, just sticking to it, being always believing the best. In a word, it's loving. That women, that mothers typically are that people will talk about a mother's love. Specifically a mother's love, not just general love, but like a mother's love. And somebody said, a mother's love is a lot like God's love, but, if it was like God's love, then it would be the same toward everybody, because agape, God's love is toward all mankind. Well, that's true, but it does, I really believe it does paint a picture when you think of a mother's love toward people. And again, people have different experiences, maybe your experience with a mother, what you felt like you did or whatever, it doesn't look a certain way. But when we talk about a mother's love and the way a mother supports her children and sticks by them, that is a lot like God's love. It is a picture for us of aspects of God and aspects of his love. I want to read 1 Corinthians 13:4. It's well, before I go there, I want to go back to verse 12. This is what I wanted to say on this verse. 1 John 4, verse 12. It says, no one has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love has been perfected in us. Go back to verse 11, actually, before it. It says, beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has seen God at any time. So, nobody's seen God. But it says love, God is love, and that we ought to love one another, but we haven't seen God. Well, this gives us a picture of what that looks like. Just the way a mom a mom loves. And I want to talk about that this morning, just the love of a mother or mother's love. 1 Corinthians 13:4. So this is a familiar passage of Scripture. We're going to read it in the Living Bible. I like the way the Living Bible says it. But just notice these different attributes of this in the context of motherhood. It says, love is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do it wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. If you love someone, you will be loyal to him no matter what the cost. You will always believe in him, always expect the best of him, and always stand your ground in defending him. Now I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to put, and I put this in. I don't know if you caught, I didn't specify this, so I don't know if you caught that. I changed it so you could read it up here, but I will read it this way, and I'm just going to insert mother and mothers into that. And so you can see what we're talking about. So whatever you have, you can put it up. But 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, I'm going to read it from the perspective of a mother. It says, a mother is very patient and kind. You can just insert it. Just think about it. A mother is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Again, we understand mothers aren't perfect. They're human beings, and maybe, this isn't 100% the way everybody would be. But think about the sentiment and think about that type of that picture, because this does correspond a lot. Let's read that part again. A mother is very patient and kind, never jealous or anxious or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. A mother does not demand her own way. How many times is that true? The mom she's getting everybody else taken care of. We could talk about fathers. I mean, generally, the father is the one that's supposed to be on the back burner for sure. But so many times, the mother's juggling so many things. One person likened it to an air traffic controller. All these things going on, but so many times she's putting her kids, she's putting other people ahead. A mother does not demand her own way. She is not irritable or touchy. She does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do her wrong. She is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. Because she loves her children, she will be loyal to them no matter what the cost. She will always believe in them, always expect the best of them, and always stand her ground in defending them. I would say that last part, when you think of a mother's love, a mother, I would say, both parents are supposed to be like this, but you just think the mother, just no matter what the kid does, just doesn't give up on them. Is like that mercy side. Is like that love side of God. Now you need the whole thing. If you just go to the point where it is just, just put up with anything, it's not going to turn out well. But emphasizing that part, that there is so many times so much mercy, so much bearing with. And there's so many people that, if their mother didn't stick with them, they would have ended up in a bad place. You heard some of the quotes. That their mom just was there, just stood by them. Let's read that last part again. I don't know what verse it is. Let's see. I think it's just 7. Because she loves her children, I'm going to read it like this. She will be loyal to them no matter what the cost. She will always believe in them. Always expect the best of them. Always stand her ground in defending them. I'm sure, like I said, everybody has different experiences, but I bet you if we went around the room, I bet you people could give a lot of examples of this, different things that had happened. Where their mom was somebody else, they didn't believe in them, they felt like something happened at school or at work or whatever, and their mom was, hey, she's still believing in them. She would defend them. Don't raise your hand. I mean, I think, probably people have had experiences of the mom going to bat for them. Well, you're not going to do that to my kid, or that's enough of that. Always believe in, always expect the best of them. I didn't raise you that way. Come on. You come up, I didn't raise you, I expect better of you. And that is a glimmer, a perspective into God's character. That's the way he is. I mean, thank God he believes in us. Thank God he didn't give up on us. Because if God gave up, if God would give up on us, we're done. But he never does. God never does. Human beings will fail. Men, women, they'll fail. That breaks down at some point, but God doesn't. He doesn't fail. He is always there. He is love. The Bible says he is love, not that he loves. He is love. And so these aspects, when we're looking at this is a glimpse into those aspects of God's character that he put in moms. Because it's innate. Everybody else would have given up on a person, and the mom is like, you get it. You'll get it. Come on. Well, that is divine. That love, that believing, because people say stuff like, well, of course, kids, they could be like, well, their mom will tell them something, well, that's just my mom. Like, of course my mom thinks that way because that's my mom. Like, of course your mom loves you. She's your mom. It's so much so that people, if they want to get at somebody, they'll be like, even your mom doesn't like you, or something, or your mom thinks you're ugly, because it is so ingrained in our culture that the mom is like, it's a given, right? It's like the mom is, she is going to believe in you. She's going to think you're the best at this. She's going to support you. She likes the way you do stuff. Of course, she thinks your picture is great. Of course, she thinks you're great at this. But why is it? It's not like people are real waffly, but that is the sentiment. Well, that is an aspect. That tells us something. That's not across the board just every human being, but there is an aspect, something that God put in mothers that is part of himself. That is an aspect of himself to bring humanity along. He knew that for humanity to get where they needed to get, they're going to need somebody in their life that is going to believe in him no matter what. And women, mothers, have something innate in them. You read or you heard the quotes. There are men, these are all men, they're historical quotes, that did great things, but they realized there was something put into them in their formative years. There's so many times there is this behind the scenes going on, a constant, especially when the family's younger, but throughout, where there's not a lot of accolades, there's not a lot of visibility, there's not a lot of feedback from the world about what is going on. But there is this feedback cycle that in the home that is being instilled in a child, and God knew that needed to happen. That there would be something in a mother that when there is nothing, there is no accolades out here, nothing going on, that they would be there day after day helping that child. What? Just live, just develop, just be on their path to in formative years, later years, just to be there. That just a constant just support. Again, not everybody has that. There's different situations in life. But talking about that design of God, what he did and what he put it, and that we recognize that. We recognize that in moms. But when you see that, we can look and say, well, if a human being can be like that, how much more God is like that? And that can help our faith. You know it? Yes. If you can think of, now again, people have different experiences. Maybe you didn't have a good relationship with your mom. Maybe you didn't have, that type of thing. But if you think about that, especially, if you think about somebody that is like that type of being in your life, but for a lot of people, it could be your mother, that type of supportive. If you could believe that this person would be like that, God is that much more. And so if you're in a situation where you feel like, well, I don't know if I could do this, but what does mom think of me, or what would she have done? If you can say, God is that and more. In other words, if you could visualize, sometimes we have this image of God like he's off, and well, if he were here, he would be critical, or he would be judgmental, or he would not. He would be done. He'd be like, I'm done with you. Well, actually, what we read in 1 Corinthians 13 is a description of God. Yes. Now, we're looking at it saying this is instilled in what we see as a mother's love, but God He is that. And so anything we see there, He's actually that in perfection. So if we think a human being would still be patient with us, if we think a human being would still be loving of us, God is so much more. And sometimes if we can just insert it and go, well, yeah, so-and-so would think well of me. Well, God thinks well of you. They would still be supported. Mom would still support me. We should have that default response like, well, of course, God loves you still. If we can do that with a mom, well, of course, that's your mom. Well, of course, she thinks you're doing well. We should know, well, of course, God loves you. Of course, God thinks you're doing. Of course, God supports you. It's a glimmer into that. And so for women, for mothers, to know that you are walking in that representation of that aspect of the Lord on the earth. That is a very essential thing. That is something that affects people as they go forward. 3 John 2, so 3 John is just one chapter, so it's just 3 John 2 or 3 John 1, 2. It says, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers. For I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. Now he's talking about spiritual children, but this applies to what we're talking about. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. In the Amplified Classic, it says, I have no greater joy than this, to hear that my spiritual children are living their lives in the truth. That actually, that's the essence that, and as parents, a mother, for her child to do well, that's success. For the mother's heart is for the child to do well. The child, doesn't matter if the child's 5, 10, or 30, the mother's heart is for the child to do well, that they walk in good. Here it's talking about walk in truth, that the person walks according to the will of God for their life in truth. That's the desire. For mothers, especially 20, 25 people there are things that are stereotypes, but then there's things that are just representative of what is generally true. And people have tried to erase all that, but it doesn't change the fact that these are truths. And there are differences between men and women. There are differences between mothers and fathers. For a woman generally, and I know, you've had the feminist movement and everything. People have tried to just erase the differences between men, women, and all that. But generally, historically, a mother's, if they have children, satisfaction in life goes as their family and their marriage in that home goes more than career. Guys and men are the opposite. Or men are different. Men generally are in the world are driven more by how their career and how these things are going. But when you're asking how their life's going, the men are going to answer more according to what's going on in their profession. Women are going to, if their family's going well, if the children are going well, it's going well. And that's just a generalization. Well, that's like this verse. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. In other words, there's nothing that you could say that would make me happier than to know that my children are walking right. In this case, are walking with God, are well. That is the heart. Now, he's talking about spiritual children, and there is nothing that you could say that would make me happier. And you can see this so often with mothers. They are there as just a gentle, guiding support to help people help children and eventually go in the right direction. Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. In the Living Bible, it says, teach a child to choose the right path, and when he is older, he will remain on it. What is that? So it's this directioning. It's this positioning, and then setting, and then guiding, so that the path is set so that then the child can keep going. And that's a lot. The mother's love is of course, we trust in God, but he's put that in mothers. You know, you realize God has put a lot of things in what we would call natural. And the line between spiritual and natural is not so clear-cut as people would try to divide it. But God had created this natural world from spiritual. So natural things that God has put in, people say, well, that's just natural. But God designed it. So there's things that he put in to act in a spiritual function. You really can't separate it. So what he put in, and then when he designed the family and designed that loving, the design, that nurturing, it's so when you have a child coming out, they don't know up from down. They don't know left from right. They have to learn everything. And so as they're going, if they're not directed in a certain way, they could go literally any direction at all and not even know that that's a good or bad way to go. They just go. And so what is coming out of the chute, there's that gentle, constant love, shaping, pushing, support that a mother brings, so that that child's coming at the gate, keeping going to where as they move, it's like it's momentum, you know, like when you're on a bicycle trying to get it going. Anybody remember learning how to ride a bike? I remember very specifically. The first bike I had, we bought at a garage sale. I was so happy to have a bike. It had a big banana seat. Anybody know what that looks like? I wanted a BMX bike, but the first thing they could get, pick me up one, so I could just get a big banana seat at the back, these handlebars. And I remember trying to get to ride that thing, and I got a big concrete block. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, they're this big with the two holes in it. Put that down, and so because I couldn't quite touch the ground, I'd be on the bike and my legs couldn't quite touch the ground. So I would get up next to that concrete block and put my leg there and then get over the bike, and then I try to kick off and go. And man, and it was on concrete, so I would get my knees all scratched. I can remember, I think of that bike and I just intuitively, I'm thinking my knees. I remember I must have gotten scraped up a lot, but I'm trying to get moving, trying to learn how to ride that bike, trying to get at the place where I can go. And that takes a little time. I didn't have, it was too big for training wheels. I didn't have training wheels. I'm trying to get enough, going so that I can keep on a direction. Well, after, you fall down, you try to go, you fall down, you try to go, you fall down, you get a little farther, you fall down, get a little bit farther, you fall down. Eventually you get to where you can go. Well, that's like life. I mean, you're getting to go. It's so much more helpful when you have somebody that's there with you, trying to help you, supporting you, getting it so, you want to go this way, you want to fall this way, or I just can't do it anymore, or I don't know. That force going along, God put that in mothers. So no matter what, it's like, Mom will be there. Mom's helped me. Mom loves it. You get the scrape. Mom will kiss it. Put a Band-Aid on it. Go out. Try again. Thank God I did learn to ride a bike eventually. And I got a different bike eventually. But just going on the right path and then just continuing to go. So when you get going, at the beginning then of just even riding a bike, so you learn how to ride a bike, but just when you get going, when the bike is just starting to move, it's not stable. If you don't have any momentum, it can fall over immediately. Like if you just stand a bike up and try to balance it, it's very difficult. And if you go a little bit further, it doesn't stay steady by itself. But when you start moving it and you get the wheels turning, so basically you get physics involved now. So where there's going, it's harder for it to just fall over because you have momentum and it's moving. And when it's moving at pace, it's actually easier for it to keep going straight. Well, if you keep the pace up. Well, that's like life. You're at the start. It's like this. And if a child doesn't have something to keep moving, it's easy just to fall over anyway, but you keep it moving and get momentum. Now you can keep going in that direction. It's actually harder. Those things instilled in a person, it's actually, and then keep being instilled over time, it's harder for them to get away from it. Certain habits, we know this. It happens both good and bad. There are things that habits, once they're formed, good or bad, are hard to change. But good habit, that works in the good. You can have a good habit that has been instilled in you for decades, partly because you had some help in doing that. And so you do something opposite. It's so easy. After a while, it's like, this doesn't even feel right. And you just go right back to what you were trained to do. That's what that verse is saying. Teach a child to choose the right path, and when he is older, he'll remain on it. And so this is passed down. Look at 2 Timothy 1, verse 3. This is an example in the Bible of multiple women influencing a chain here. Offspring. 2 Timothy 1, verse 3 says, I thank God whom I serve with a pure conscience, as my forefathers did, as without ceasing I remember you in my prayers night and day, greatly desiring to see you, being mindful of your tears, that I may be filled with joy, when I call to remembrance the genuine faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded is in you also. So Paul is speaking to Timothy, and he is saying, I see there is faith in you, and that was first in your grandma. And then it was in your mom. And now I'm persuaded it's in you. That somehow something was put into motion there in Timothy's life to where he was on a certain track of faith and to follow God. And the mothers, in this biblical instance, obviously had a big part to play. He's saying that faith was in your grandmother. That was in your mother. And now it's in you. Something got put into motion and it's there. You can see this. 2 Timothy, we'll read 2 Timothy 3:14. It says, but you must continue in the things which you have learned. This is later in that same book. Which you have learned and been assured of, knowing from whom you have learned them, and that from your childhood you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith, which is in Jesus Christ. So here, Paul is giving us more information about what he was talking about in the grandmother and in the mother. He said, you have, go ahead and put up 14 again. It says, you must continue in the things which you've learned. So he was learning something. He said, you're going to continue in that path, the things which you learned and have been assured of, knowing from whom you have learned them, and that from childhood you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in which is in Jesus Christ. So Paul is actually saying, this, what got you going, that came through your grandmother, that came through your mother, is actually, this was being instilled in you. You were taught the Scriptures, you were shown faith, and that got you going, and that is what you need to continue in. You train up a child in the way he should go, and he will continue. Paul is telling Timothy what's been put in you, that instilling, you should just keep on with that. And that came through these moms that had instilled, that were just there. And that set that track. So Timothy didn't go here. Timothy didn't go here. They set a track saying, this is what we're putting into you and instilling into you. And now Timothy kept going in that track to where Timothy is a support to the Apostle Paul, who wrote majority of the letters of the New Testament and is being named. His grandmother, his mother, him is being named as influential in the Bible because of something those women put into Timothy.
That's good.
And that he kept on, and Paul is saying, you just keep going in the direction that you've been going, and keep going in that direction, that track you're on, bring up what's been put into you. Go by that. Keep moving. Keep going on that track. Don't deviate. Keep going, because that's the right path. God put this into moms. It's a divine thing, not just a natural thing. It is a divine thing so that exactly this can keep happening, that we can keep moving on, that impartation of the things of God and love, a representation of God in a person's life, in children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, moves the plan of God forward. Amen.